A hurricane hits Florida. Thousands run for safety. Families huddle inside crowded shelters. They have lost everything. Then, a text message appears. A businessman, safe and dry, types, "We should send marketers into the shelters." The reply comes fast. Cold. It's a killer idea. "I want to rake the shelters. Let's fuck 'em up." That message helped fuel a $233 million fraud scheme. A scheme that didn't just steal money. It cut people off from life-saving healthcare. This is the story of how two men turned human suffering into profit and how it all came crashing down. Got it? Let's begin. Morning in Stuart, Florida feels calm. Too calm. Cory Lloyd wakes up before the sun fully rises. The light leaks in through wide glass windows, soft and golden. Outside, the water is still. A dock stretches into it. Tied to it, an 80-foot yacht. Clean, white, silent. Inside, everything smells expensive. Polished wood, leather, fresh coffee brewing somewhere in the house. Cory sits up slowly. No rush, no noise. Just the quiet comfort of someone who believes he has already won. He checks his phone. Notifications stack up. Messages, numbers, deals moving in the background. Money flowing. Far away in Mansfield, Texas, Stephen Strong is already awake. His world is different. Not quiet, but controlled chaos. Screens glow in a dark room. Marketing dashboards flicker. Names, leads, numbers, always numbers. Two men, two cities, one idea forming. Back in Florida, Cory takes a sip of coffee. Bitter, strong. He walks past large windows, looking out at the water. Everything about his life says success. President of an insurance brokerage firm. Clean title. Legitimate business. On paper, but behind that calm surface, something else is building. The system they work in, the Affordable Care Act, is massive, complicated, full of rules, and like any massive system, it has cracks, small ones, hidden ones. Cory knows it. Stephen knows it. They are not the only ones in the industry chasing commissions, but they are about to go further than anyone else, much further. At this moment, nothing illegal has happened yet. No victims, no fraud, just opportunity. But the contrast already exists, because while Cory stands in a waterfront home in Florida, there are people across the country waking up in a completely different world, on sidewalks, in shelters, outside clinics, people with no safety net except one thing: Medicaid. It pays for their medication, their treatment, their survival, and they don't know it yet, but that safety net is about to be pulled out from under them. Between August 2018 and September 2022, that single idea, the one forming right now, will explode into something massive. A $233 million fraud scheme, at least $180 million paid out by the federal government, thousands of vulnerable people targeted, homeless, unemployed, struggling with mental health, fighting addiction, all of them about to become pieces in a machine they will never see. Cory looks down at his phone again. A message is coming from Stephen, and with it, the beginning of everything. Before we go deeper, ask yourself something. If you found a loophole in a system worth billions, would you ignore it or exploit it? Because Cory Lloyd and Stephen Strong didn't just find one. They built an entire empire on it. And here's the truth. Without this loophole, none of what happened next would exist. If you want to understand how hidden systems like this really work, the parts most people never see, then subscribe to Fleece and help us take the channel to 1,000 subscribers. Now, watch closely. The Affordable Care Act has rules. Very strict ones. Most people can only enroll in ACA health plans during a limited window each year. Miss it, and you're locked out. Unless something happens, a qualifying event like losing Medicaid, that's the crack in the system. And Cory and Steven saw it clearly. Here's what they did. Step by step, they submitted Medicaid applications designed to fail, not by accident. On purpose, applications filled with just enough wrong information to trigger a denial. And when Medicaid said no, that denial became a golden ticket. It opened the door to year-round ACA enrollment. No waiting. No restrictions. Denied, denied, denied. Each one unlocking another opportunity. Another commission. Another payment. Because once these individuals were pushed out of Medicaid, they could be enrolled in fully subsidized ACA plans, plans paid for by the federal government, plans that generated commissions for brokers like Lloyd. Now imagine this happening, not once, but thousands of times. Between August 2018 and September 2022, that's exactly what happened. The numbers are staggering. $233 million billed, at least $180 million paid out in subsidies, all flowing through a system that looked legitimate on the surface, but underneath, it was engineered. And here's the part that makes it worse. The people being enrolled, they didn't understand what was happening. Many were told nothing, others were coached, some were bribed, but almost all of them were vulnerable, homeless, unemployed, struggling with mental health or addiction. They weren't choosing between healthcare plans. They were trying to survive the day. And while Cory and Steven watched numbers climb on their screens, something else was happening quietly in the background. Medicaid coverage disappearing, canceled, replaced, gone. The safety net was being cut, one application at a time. Back in their offices, it didn't feel like harm. It felt like success. A system cracked open. A machine that worked. And most dangerous of all, a machine that scaled. It doesn't start in an office. It starts on the street, outside a soup kitchen, near a bus stop. In the shadow of a clinic, a man sits on the curb. His clothes are worn. His eyes are tired. He hasn't eaten properly in days. He's thinking about one thing: how to get through today. Then someone approaches him, clean shoes, branded shirt, a tablet in hand, a smile that feels practiced. "Hey, you got a minute?" This is the front line of the operation. The street marketers, recruited and directed by Stephen Strong's marketing company. Their job is simple: find people, sign them up, move fast. They don't explain the system. They don't explain the risks. They just close the deal. Sometimes they offer help. Other times they offer cash. A folded $20 bill slips from hand to hand. Quick, discreet, enough to make someone say yes. The marketer starts tapping through a form: name, address, sometimes guessed, income, adjusted, answers, guided. "Just nod," the marketer says. "This will help you." And in that moment, the decision is made, not by the person on the curb, but by the system behind the screen. Because what that man doesn't know is this: he's not being helped, he's being processed. Stop. Look at this. Every single application being filled out is part of a plan designed to fail. The Medicaid forms submitted in his name, they are meant to be rejected. That rejection is the goal, because once it happens, he becomes valuable. The marketer finishes the form, smiles again, walks away, already scanning for the next person. Behind the scenes, the system kicks in. Applications are sent. Denials come back. ACA enrollments are triggered. Commissions begin to stack over and over again. Street by street, city by city. Between August 2018 and September 2022, this process scales aggressively. It becomes a pipeline, a machine powered by human vulnerability. Some victims are homeless. Some are battling opioid addiction. Some are dealing with severe mental health conditions. Many don't even realize they've been enrolled in anything at all. They walk away with $20 and lose something far more important. Days later, weeks later, Reality hits. A woman stands at a pharmacy counter. She tries to pick up her medication for opioid use disorder. The pharmacist checks the system, pauses, then shakes his head. Her Medicaid is gone. She's been switched to an ACA plan, one with costs she cannot afford. No coverage, no medication, just confusion, panic. Back on the street, another marketer approaches another target. Another form opens. Another life is altered. And somewhere far away, the numbers keep climbing. Florida is underwater. A hurricane tears through the state. Homes are flooded. Power is gone. Thousands of people are forced into emergency shelters. Inside, the air is thick. Wet clothes, crying children. The smell of stress and exhaustion. People clutch whatever they manage to save. Small bags, documents, medication bottles. This is what survival looks like, miles away. In a quiet room, a phone lights up, a message from Stephen Strong. He sees the same hurricane, but something else too, opportunity. He types, "We should send marketers into the shelters." Cory Lloyd reads it. He doesn't hesitate. His reply comes fast. Aggressive. "It's a killer idea if we could pull it off. I want to rake the shelters." "Rapey," Stephen responds. "Haha, I'm not kidding." Cory fires back. "Me either. Let's fuck 'em up." That's the moment everything crosses a line. Not just fraud, not just exploitation, but intent. Clear and undeniable, because now the target isn't just the vulnerable. It's people in crisis, people who just lost everything, people trapped in shelters with nowhere else to go. Inside one of those shelters, rows of cots stretch across a gym floor. Volunteers move quickly. Water bottles are handed out. Phones are charging along the walls. And then, new faces enter. Not volunteers, marketers, clean clothes, tablets ready, smiles on cue. They move through the crowd. Quiet, efficient. "Hey, we can help you get coverage. Just sign here." Quick process. In that chaos, people say yes, not because they understand, but because they trust. Or they're too tired to ask questions. And just like that, the machine expands. More enrollments, more denials, more ACA plans triggered, more commissions flowing back to Cory and Stephen. Meanwhile, the money transforms into something else entirely. A waterfront home in the Florida Keys, an 80-foot yacht sitting in clear blue water, a Tesla parked in a spotless driveway. Luxury built on the backs of people sleeping on cots. But the system is leaving a trail, data, patterns, numbers that don't quite make sense. Somewhere, inside a federal office, someone notices a spike, unusual enrollments, too many fully subsidized ACA plans tied to people reporting little to no income. It doesn't fit, and once someone sees it, they can't unsee it. The investigation begins quietly. No sirens, no headlines, just files being opened, names being flagged, and a clock starting to tick. Cory and Stephen think they've built a perfect system, untouchable, but they've just made one mistake. They got too big. November 30, 2025, a federal courtroom in West Palm Beach, Florida. The air feels different here. Heavy, controlled, no chaos, no noise, just order. At the front of the room sits a federal judge. The case is serious. The charges are clear: conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. Cory Lloyd and Stephen Strong sit at the defense table. No yachts, no waterfront views, just suits, silence, and the weight of everything catching up. For years, their operation ran in the shadows. Now, every detail is dragged into the light. The Department of Justice, the FBI, IRS criminal investigation. HHS Office of Inspector General. All of them have built the same story. A $233 million fraud scheme. At least $180 million paid out by the federal government. Vulnerable people targeted. Medicaid applications deliberately designed to fail. ACA enrollments triggered for profit. Then, the messages are read out loud, word for word. We should send marketers into the shelters. It's a killer idea. I want to rake the shelters. Roopsie. Haha, I'm not kidding. Me either. Let's them up. No spin. No explanation. Just their own words. Stop. Listen to this. Preying upon medically compromised consumers to rob hundreds of millions from taxpayer-funded programs is evil and unforgivable. That's Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Stealing hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars while endangering lives is as callous as it gets. FBI Director Kash Patel. They targeted individuals struggling with homelessness, addiction, and mental health challenges, manipulated them for profit, and jeopardized their access to legitimate medical care. U.S. Attorney Jason A. Reading Quinones. The words land hard because this isn't just about money anymore. It's about consequences. November 17th, 2025. The jury returns guilty on all counts. No confusion, no hesitation, just a verdict that closes the door on the illusion they built. But it doesn't end there. January 6, 2026. Dafoud Isa, the third co-conspirator, is sentenced first, 35 months in prison. Ordered to pay $133.9 million in restitution. He had already pleaded guilty. Took the deal. Then February 18, 2026, Cory Lloyd and Stephen Strong stand again in court. This time, it's for sentencing. 20 years each, federal prison, and $180 on $6 million in restitution. Just weeks later, March 4, 2026, they file notices to appeal. One last move. One last attempt, but outside the courtroom, the damage is already done. Lives disrupted, treatments lost, trust broken. The system caught them, but it didn't erase what happened. Morning in Stuart, Florida feels calm, just like it did before. The same sunlight stretches across the water. The same dock sits still. The same ocean breathes in slow, quiet rhythms. But something is missing. The yacht is gone. The house feels empty. No footsteps. No phone buzzing with deals. No quiet confidence of a man who thought he had beaten the system. Cory Lloyd is no longer here. Neither is Stephen Strong. Back in Texas, sitting behind glowing screens. Now, their world is very different. Cold walls, strict schedules, time measured not in profits, but in years, 20 of them. The machine they built is gone, shut down by investigators who followed the data, the patterns, the money. But the story doesn't end with arrests or sentences, because the real cost was never just financial. Somewhere, a man still remembers the day he accepted $20 on a sidewalk. He thought it was help. He didn't know it would cost him his health care. Somewhere else, a woman still stands at a pharmacy counter, replaying the moment she was told her Medicaid was gone. No coverage, no medication, no answers for people already struggling with opioid use disorders, mental health conditions, or serious illness. That kind of disruption isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous, sometimes life-threatening. Between August 2018 and September 2022, thousands of lives were quietly altered, not with violence, not with force, but with paperwork, with signatures, with a system they didn't understand. The government recovered what it could. $180, $6 million ordered in restitution. But money doesn't rewind damage. It doesn't restore trust, and it doesn't fix the moments that were lost when people were cut off from care. There are still questions. How did it go on for so long? Who noticed first? Could it have been stopped earlier? Those answers remain unclear. But one thing is certain. This wasn't just a loophole. It was a choice, a decision to look at suffering and see profit, to look at a hurricane and see opportunity, to look at vulnerable people and see numbers on a screen. And now, the The same calm morning that once framed success feels like something else entirely, a reminder. So here's the question that stays with you. When a system is this big and the cracks are this small, how many more are still hiding inside it?